Welcome to our demonstration of new features that are available to you in Google Meet. Google Meet previously offered really streamlined video conferencing but lacked some of the tools that faculty really valued in Zoom. And Meet has recently come up to par with Zoom in a lot of ways by making new opportunities available for you to poll your students, start and administer breakout rooms, and run a moderated Q&A that lets you easily answer questions without having to moderate the chat the entire time. It also has a couple of interesting fringe features that I'll talk about at the end of this video, but our primary goal will be to walk through polling, breakout groups, and the Q&A. So when you are in Meet, you can see that I'm here with my 4 students, Taylor, and the CLT work study student. And you can see that you have the options at the Meet screen that you might be familiar with. You can see the 5 people, for example, here in the upper right. You can see the chat here in the upper right. And then you see this new icon of 3 geometric shapes. And this is the point at which you can access the new features of Google Meet. This is only available if you're hosting. So you click on the Activities button there, and we see 3 new options here: breakout rooms, polls, and Q&A. So let's start with polls. When we go into polls, you can see here that I've already created a couple of poll questions. And I do that by using this option at the bottom, Create a Poll. I click Create a Poll, and I can ask whatever multiple choice type question I want. Right now, only multiple choice questions are available. And then I can save that. So I don't have to ask it right away. I can start my Meet call early, create my questions, save them, and then just launch them later. So let's say I've created these questions and I'd like my class to answer one of them at a certain point in the call. I just come over to polls and hit launch. And once I hit launch, that poll question will go live and my students will be able to answer that live. You can see that there's an option here to show everyone the results or to hide the results from everyone. Showing the results to everyone doesn't allow the students to see which students answered in which way, but it does allow them to see the statistics on the question. So as I sit here looking at this, more and more votes will come in. And then at another point in the call, I could launch my second question. If I have students in breakout groups or doing a quick free write, I can take that time to create a poll question quickly as well. So this is a great tool for assessing student readiness and their interests, as I've done in the second question here, or for assessing the mood of your classroom, as I've done in the first question. It can also be a great tool for those times when normally you would ask your students, raise your hand if you agree with X. So that's polls. Our second new feature is breakout groups, which Google calls breakout rooms. So back in the same menu with the 3 geometric shapes, I choose the breakout rooms option. And what Meet would like to do is move people into breakout rooms automatically. So for example, it's suggesting that we create 2 breakout rooms, and it is randomly assigning people to them. And I can click this shuffle button, and it will actually reassign people to different groups. And what I want to do is make sure that all of my students are in these breakout groups and I remain in the main call. But I can swap students around. So for example, if I know that CLT work study and Taylor drinker don't get along, I can move both of our Taylors down here to breakout group 2 and move someone else into breakout group 1. At this point, I just open the rooms, which launches them. And the students will get a prompt to join those rooms, which they will then need to accept. And that's why my students are disappearing from this call right now, because they're all dropping into their rooms. And when their little circles stop spinning on the right, you can see that they're in those rooms, and then the screen will default back to me. Now, as the person who's running the meeting, I have the option to drop into any of these rooms just by clicking join on a particular breakout room. I also have the option to end the breakout rooms at any time, and participants in the breakout rooms are able to pop back into the main call. So right now, I'll just close the rooms, and that will give students a prompt to return to the main classroom. They may have a little bit of a lag in the process of doing this, so that's what we're seeing right now, is our students taking a moment to actually click that return. But after a certain point, about a minute and a half, students will automatically be returned to the main room. That gives them a chance to wrap up their conversation. All right, so I've got everyone back here. That's breakout rooms. It lacks some features that Zoom has, but generally is effective in most ways that people want to use breakouts. Final feature is Q&A. So that's right here. This is a little bit different from hand raising, even though the icon shows hand raising. And to use Q&A, I just need to come in here and turn it on. And then what this feature will do is allow anybody in the call to ask a question. So they can click this Ask a Question button. So can I. And just add a question. Hello, how are you? For example, it'll post. And I see one of my students has done the same. Now, students are also able to vote on these. So if I'm a student and I want this question to be answered sooner, I can upvote it and it will go up to the top of the screen. Then as I, the instructor, answer them, I can click the checkbox so that I know that I've already covered that. Or if it's a question that is trolling or offensive in some way, I can hide it or delete it. So I've already discussed with CLT Work Study today how we're doing. I'm going to check off this question. Now I know that that's been covered. So it's a good way to keep yourself organized while you're interacting with students by text, as opposed to the chat feature where it can be really easy to lose track of what you have and haven't answered. Okay, so those are the three primary features of Meet that we're looking at this point. Now, one thing that Meet does that really answers a question that many faculty had asked us in the past is that it takes attendance for you. And so shortly after you close the Meet, you'll get an email in your Champlain Google account that has a spreadsheet in it listing everybody who attended your class that day. And it will also, if you used polling, list all the polling results. So if you want to use polling, for example, to assess who is actually participating versus who's just turned their call on and left the room, that can be a good tool to let you know who was actually involved in class that day, and that comes to you automatically without you having to take any extra steps. Now, there are some additional features in Meet that we're not going to talk about today that I just want to flag because they're new, and they are available down here in this three-dot menu on the lower right, and I'll just point them out. One is whiteboarding, which says open a jam. This is the integration with Google's Jamboard tool, which we'll cover in another video. And the other is turn on background blur. So this is a great option if your office is a mess and you just want to blur out your background. One warning is that it does take a little more computer processing power. So if you're having trouble with your video call or if your computer runs slow, you might want to avoid the background blur. But if you don't have those problems, it can be a great option. So that's a quick rundown of some of the new options in Meet. I hope that's helpful. You can always contact the Center for Learning and Teaching for further advice about whether Meet or Zoom would work best for you. Thanks.